basically what I was trying to let everybody know was give an update on where things stand with the Continuum of Care application. We had hoped at this point that the NOFA for the 2013 competition would be out. However, because of the shutdown and various other issues going on at HUD and with the regs and such, there is not yet a NOFA, which means that we don't know when the applications will be due. We don't necessarily know what's going to be required with each application. We do think or expect that as we had last year in the 2012 competition, that there may be that we may end up having to rate and rank the renewal projects. And if that's the case, we've got some preliminary scoring or ranking criteria that is in the works. The CoC board that we've established due to the requirements of the CoC program interim rule has been working up some preliminary rating and ranking criteria. Those will be finalized once the NOFA comes out and we determine exactly what their requirements are, because as we know, anybody who's done this for very long, from year to year, it is likely to change. Some of the other tips that we are pretty certain about that are going to be seen in the NOFA is that we do anticipate that there's going to be that's going to say that there's not going to be bonus money available, because since like 1999, I think there's been bonus money of some sort available in the competition, but they've kind of let us know that that's not to be expected, but that new permanent housing projects may have an opportunity to apply using the reallocation process, which we have done several times in the balance of state, and that's where a renewal project either selects to not renew or to reduce their renewal request amount, therefore putting the money back into a pool to be used for new permanent housing projects. We also are anticipating that the total funding amounts available for CoC is going to be cut. We're hearing numbers somewhere in the 4%, possibly up to 8% amount. Again, that's going to be something that is finalized and published in the NOFA when it's released. So once we know that, that'll be our kind of our walking papers there for where we're headed. The NOFA definitely is going to be pushed out via the 1CPD listservs, so everybody that's signed up for those will get that notice. But once that does happen, KC will push that out to all of the parties on our regular mail list, and probably via eGram in several different ways. The 1CPD listserv that I mentioned, anybody who is not currently receiving those, they need, Lynn's got pulled up on the screen the HUD webpage where you can get signed up for those. It's likely that your agency may be interested in more things than just CoC. There's information that comes out on the home program, on HOPWA, on ESG, on environmental reviews, on all variety of different HUD-funded programs. So, and it gives you the opportunity to, once you put your contact information in there, you can select the ones that you want to receive notifications on. So if you're not getting those, and I do recommend that more than one person in your agency get signed up for that, so that should there be an absence or something like that, you all still get well informed, or in case something happens that there's a glitch in them getting transmitted to the correct email, then somebody else is always going to be getting that. So hopefully that's what we've got. And, you know, otherwise, and, you know, we're just working on budget amendments for the CoC programs. We're working on things with the ESG program related to defining performance measures and different things like that. So that's what's going on here until the NOFA comes out and we get full steam ahead into the 2014 calendar where we'll start talking about ESG again. So I think that's all I've got right now on that piece. Good, Lynn.
Thank you, Rosemary. We had planned this afternoon, prior to our technical difficulties, that our General Counsel, Karen Quinn, would give a presentation on fair housing. Due to the time delay, Karen has actually had to step away for another meeting. So we will plan to have her give her presentation at another webinar. We still do have with us this afternoon Leslie McBride, and she is a general counsel here with Kentucky Housing Corporation, and she's going to talk with us and give a slideshow regarding Title VI. Leslie?
Thank you. I'm here to give you the most exciting part of the presentation today. This is on Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This, in a nutshell, keeps going to the next slide. Title VI prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, or national origin in all programs receiving federal financial assistance. Next slide. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a product, basically, of growing demand for the federal government to prohibit racial discrimination. President John F. Kennedy identified simple justice as the justification for this. Most of the time I don't like to read quotes, but I do want to read this one quote from John F. Kennedy, because when you're, a lot of times when you're just going through red tape and like, why do I have to fill this out? I think that this lets you know how important this really is and what a historic act this was. So I'm just going to read this quote by John F. Kennedy. Simple justice requires that public funds to which all taxpayers of all races contribute not be spent in any fashion which encourages, entrenches, subsidizes, or results in racial discrimination. Direct discrimination by federal, state, or local government is prohibited by the Constitution, but indirect discrimination through the use of federal funds is just as invidious, and it should not be necessary to resort to the courts to prevent each individual action. Title VI was one of the most debated provisions of the Civil Rights Act. It took over a year of debates and hearings to get this thing passed, and it wasn't passed until after President Kennedy was assassinated. But finally, on July 2nd, 1964, President Lyndon Johnson signed this bill into law with Martin Luther King Jr. looking on. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you to just go, yeah, and then go ahead to the next one. This only applies to applicants for federal financial assistance. But federal financial assistance includes more than just money. For instance, if you rent property, federal property for lower than fair market value, or if you get just training or the loan of federal personnel for any reason, and basically any kind of arrangement with the intention of providing assistance to your agency, then you have to comply with Title VI. Next slide. Federal assistance can also be provided directly or indirectly, like even colleges who admit students that have received federal financial assistance, they have been determined to receive federal financial assistance, and they have to comply with Title VI. Next slide. Title VI basically requires each applicant of federal financial assistance to obtain assurances of compliance, or to provide, assurances of compliance. Each recipient has to provide this, and we as a state agency have to ensure that each recipient of federal funds that goes through us provides this Title VI Statement of Assurance. We have a statute, KRS 344015, that directs how state agencies, including the Kentucky Housing Corporation, have to implement Title VI. Basically, each state agency, including us, have to develop a Title VI implementation plan, but we also have to include all the Title VI implementation plans of any subrecipients of federal funds. So every agency that applies for federal funds, every applicant has to fill out a Title VI self-survey, and we have to provide that to federal agencies along with our Title VI. And it also requires annual Title VI reports and implementation plan updates. There's a state regulation that really just applies to state agencies. It doesn't apply to you guys, but it does include a document called the Title VI of the Federal Civil Rights Act Implementation Initial Plan and Plan Update Form. I've included this as one of two of your handouts, and we really don't need to go over this in detail, but I just wanted to include it because it is really helpful when you're filling out your Title VI self-survey to use this checklist, I think. It just lets you know that these things are mandatory, and you can go by when you've gotten each one of them done on your Title VI survey and just check this out, because you wouldn't believe how many people will leave some of the items blank. And I think if you use this checklist, it just lets you know that you do have to You can't just say no to one of the questions and let it go at that, or not answer it at all. But I found it really helpful.
Leslie, let me just interrupt you just for a moment. The links to that form was sent out earlier today, but if you didn't get that, please email me and let me know, and I'll resend it to you directly.
And the next handout that we gave a link to is the actual Title VI survey, self-survey itself. So I'll give you a second to bring that up if you want to. We know that this has caused much confusion, particularly this year, because of a couple of things. Number one, the HUD rule came out, which prohibited discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, gender identity, and marital status. And that came into being last year, so this is really the first year we've had to include that in the Title VI, or the Nondiscrimination Policies. And then another reason that's been particularly confusing is, in order to update our policies or our files, we ask that everyone submit things that you normally don't have to submit, except for your very first plan, your initial plan. So I know that's caused quite a bit of confusion, and we just want to, hopefully we can straighten that out today. So don't panic. You can just go ahead a couple of slides, and we will go over each part of the Title VI survey just item by item. Number one is easy. We've only had a couple of people who had to have this returned for this reason, just insert the date. But believe it or not, a couple of people didn't do that. But insert the date, you complete the survey. Number two of the Civil Rights Form is entitled Type of Survey. So all you have to do there is just check initial if it's your first survey, or otherwise check update. And then number three, believe it or not, a surprising number of people just leave the program area blank. This requires you to check a program area. And so if you don't check any program area, it will be returned. And if you're not sure about your program area, just contact an employee of the Specialized Housing Resources, and they will tell you what program area you need to check. Number four requires you to put down the name of the facility/agency. Please, on this, please don't include the name of the management company. Please include the actual name of the facility and the name of the agency that has applied for funds. And the reason I say this is sometimes if you just hire a management company and put down their information, but then you change management companies, we have had it happen where we've reviewed Title VI surveys that were prepared by management agencies, but then the facility, the applicant for funds changed management agency. So when we actually returned it to them, they're like, oh, we don't work for them anymore. So then we've had to review a whole new survey with a whole new, maybe possibly set of problems. So the best thing to do there is put the actual agency that is, and also put your name of your facility, because some agencies have more than one facility. So if you don't put the facility, we don't know which facility this applies to. Number five requires you to put down the name of your administrative head. Here, just obviously include the name and title of the administrative head of the agency applying for the grant. Again, please don't include the name of the management entity if you have a separate management entity.
Right. So this is Rosemary. I just wanted to clarify. It sounds like you're saying that the agency that applied to KHC for the funds and is getting the grant agreement from KHC is the one that is ultimately responsible for it. So that's who we need to be certifying. Okay.
And some people have actually put like somebody in HUD and started their names here, and that's not correct. It needs to be the agency that actually has applied for the funds. Number six requires you to put down the name of your Title VI coordinator, and this again needs to be an employee of the agency who has applied for the funds. And there should be someone in your agency that will serve as the Title VI coordinator. Again, don't put the Title VI coordinator of HUD, or don't put the one of your management agency. Put the one of the entity that actually applied for the funds. Number seven involves the board of directors. This has caused a little bit of confusion. The first 7A requires you to put the total number of persons on your advisory board, including our board of directors, including the number of white members and the number of non-white members. Although this sounds like it is an old-fashioned term, it's probably the easiest one to describe what we're looking for as far as diversity is concerned. 7B requires you, a lot of people will just put down like maybe their board, let's say it has 7 members. They'll just put down 7 members and there is no diversity on it. And then when they describe how members are selected, they don't include measures taken to ensure diversity. So you just need to do that.
There was just a question about whether or not what we're looking at here is not what you're talking about. The PowerPoint is not.
I'm sorry. I'm just going right now by the Civil Rights Self-Survey itself. But so, yeah, I'm sorry. The slide, we will get to that part of it in just a few minutes. But we actually I'm just going over the Civil Rights Title VI Self-Survey right now. So I'm sorry if that was confusing to anybody. So right now I'm on 7A, 7B of the Civil Rights Self-Survey.
And that link was sent out earlier today for that piece of paper.
Yes, yes. You should have that piece of paper. And this is actually the thing that you have to turn in as a prerequisite to getting. This is actually the form you have to turn in. The Civil Rights Title VI Self-Survey that you have to turn in as a prerequisite to getting your funds. So, and 7C also tells you that you have to put down the term for each of your board directors. Several people have put it life term, and that is not acceptable because if someone is a member of your board for life, that will not ensure diversity. And some people have also put like terms of 20 or 30 years, which also is not acceptable. There needs to just be a short term of years so that you can ensure diversity on your board. Section 8 or Item 8 on your Civil Rights Survey, and now you can look at the PowerPoint. Involves non-discrimination policies. This is probably the item that has probably caused the most confusion in our Title VI surveys, and there's really a reason for that, and that is that when you do your non-discrimination policy, it has to include all 11 protected classes, and those protected classes are race, color, national origin, religion, sex, age, marital status, familial status, disability, sexual orientation, and gender identity. We've listed all those for you. So if you check no that you don't have a non-discrimination policy or that it doesn't include all those protected classes, then this part of your Title VI documentation will not be approved. This is a little confusing because when you look at the end of your Title VI document, the Statement of Assurance, on that Statement of Assurance, you really only have to have 3 protected classes, and that is race, color, and national origin, because in 1964, when they passed this act, those were the only 3 classes that were protected. But since then, that's added, there have been many civil rights acts passed, like the Fair Housing Act, the Section 4 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, the Age Discrimination Act, Americans with Disabilities Act, and probably one of the more confusing for some people is the 2012 HUD rule, which Karen will go into more detail in another presentation. But that rule prohibits discrimination on the basis of actual or perceived sexual orientation, gender identity, or marital status. So all those different statutes and rules have added 8 more protected classes than the one that is required technically by Title VI. So basically what we're doing is we're using, because your non-discrimination policy has to include all these classes, and your non-discrimination policy is required as part of your Title VI, you have to include all those in that has to be included. So technically, your Statement of Assurance at the end could just include those 3 classes while your non-discrimination policy has to include all 11, and I know this has led to confusion. To lessen that confusion, this department has amended their Title VI so that the Statement of Assurance does include all 11 classes, because we feel that would be much less confusing to you, because you're going to have to comply with that anyway. So you might have, there's no reason that you shouldn't put it in your Statement of Assurance, because you are going to have to protect those classes anyway. And then there's another item that I'd like to bring up on this non-discrimination issue, and that involves the HUD rule. There are two things I'd just like to point out specifically about that, since Karen is not here to give her full presentation right now. The first is that the HUD rule prohibiting discrimination on sexual orientation, gender identity, and marital status, number one, it does apply to religious organizations. HUD has specifically issued a statement that says although religious organizations normally would not have to protect these classes, if they choose to accept federal funds or other benefits from HUD, then they have to follow this rule. And the second one involves the class of gender identity. We probably had to send our non-discrimination policies back more than any other reason because somebody did not fail to include gender identity as a class. A lot of what it is people are just not educated about that particular class, and they confuse it. And I understand why with gender or sex. So they'll include gender as a class, but not gender identity. So then when we ask them to include gender identity, they will include that, but then they'll take out gender. So I just want to briefly explain the difference. Gender or sex is the sex that a person is born with, biologically born with, where gender identity is the whether a person identifies as a male or female. So those might be two different things. So that's why we have both sex or gender, which of course is the same thing, and gender identity as separate classes. Okay, now we'll go on to number 9, and that requires posters. So you have to have posters containing Title VI information, and it has to have the name of your Title VI coordinator prominently displayed on the poster. You can't just answer no to this question. It's kind of deceptive because it asks you if you have one or not, but yet you can't really answer no because you have to have one. And the same thing with records. You have to keep permanent records of Title VI complaints. If you don't, then your funding will be withheld. So on number 10, you have to answer yes as far as records are concerned. And number 11 requires you to list all discrimination complaints that you've received during the reporting period. If you've received no complaints, just insert NA under name of complainant. It'd be better than just not answering. Number 12 involves dissemination of Title VI information. First, Title VI information must be disseminated to all your employees and your clients and applicants. This question asks you to describe how they are informed about their Title VI responsibilities. You can just refer to a Title VI statement and include that statement as an attachment or just write it down. But all the answers to 12A, B, and C, which involve dissemination of information, must be yes in order for your application to be approved. You have to describe how and by whom staff members are periodically trained regarding their Title VI responsibilities. And it might be easier for you just to attach some of your training materials and refer to those and answer the 12C, because there's not much room for you to describe how you accomplish this. Number 13 is similar, but instead of applying to your employees, it requires all contracts that provide services to clients to contain this Title VI statement of compliance. In your initial survey, and in 2013, we've asked that you resubmit this because we were updating our records. We ask that you provide us with a copy of the Title VI statement used in your contract. If you don't have a contract with your client, like I don't know if most of the specialized housing resources people, I don't know if you have rental contracts with your people or you have some other kind of written agreement. But if you do have a written agreement with the people that stay in your housing, then you do have to include just a statement that says they will comply with Title VI. Number 14 applies to subcontractors and vendors. Anybody that you contract with for any type of services or goods also must be made clearly aware of your commitment to Title VI. So in your initial survey, you also have to include the information used in your contracts with these people or these entities to make sure that they know your commitment Again, we asked people to resubmit this information in 2013 because we wanted to update our records. So in the unlikely event that you have no contracts with subcontractors or vendors, then just put NA in that category and explain why you don't have any contracts. But it seems like most people would have some type of written contracts with vendors or subcontractors for their different projects. And if you do, you just need to include that statement in the contract that you use. So we'll make sure that you have that. Number 15 describes the physical areas in your facilities. You have to ensure that they're made available to all protected classes. And if there's any area of your facilities that are not accessible to any protected group, for instance, disabled, you have to explain why. And the last page of your Title VI survey is the statement of assurance. All you have to do is just make sure you put your name at the top, sign it, the authorized official, again, of the agency applying for the funds, not the management agency, needs to sign that, date it, and you put the title of the authorized official and the address of the applicant at the bottom. And that's all I have. I hope it wasn't too confusing, and I hope it helped a little bit. Thanks. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in.
Okay, and Leslie, what we're going to try to do is we're trying to record today's webinar, what we've been able to set up the second time around, and we're planning to post it on our webpage under resources, and I will send you all a link if this has recorded as it was supposed to. We'll post that so that folks that either didn't have those forms when Leslie was going through it can have a chance to download those. I can email it if you didn't receive it. Or we also have folks that are attending the Supportive Housing Academy today, so they haven't been able to set in on this at all. So you can then go back through this. You can actually pause it, walk through, item by item, and as Leslie went through that, take some notes and things like that, so it'll be of more benefit. I know with our webinars with HUD, a lot of times we end up having to stop, pause, make notes, back it up, listen to things maybe 2 or 3 times just to make sure that we are clear on something. So we're trying to do that today, so it will enable you all to do the same and take some really good notes. And so when you get ready to renew your Title VI, that you've got all your ducks in a row, so to speak, and that you all will sail through the process without any problem.
I'm sort of like originally I had these 2 documents as part in the actual PowerPoint, but I was told they wouldn't show up very well, so that we should submit those as separate documents. So I hope you were able to look at those.
Okay, we do have one question. Is the survey due annually or only when changes occur after the initial submission?
It's due annually.
Okay. So, and although I'm not, this is not a question, this somebody might think about this, is it like during a renewal period, grant signing, when is it usually, do they renew it when they renew their grant, sign new grant agreement?
Well, you do have to submit it before you can renew your grant agreement, so it has to be definitely submitted and approved before you can receive your funds for that year. And you don't have to resubmit. There's like 4 things, like your non-discrimination policy, your that contract language I was talking about, and it says in the actual survey that you only have to submit this information. It'll tell you there's about 4 different places where you only have to submit this for your initial survey. So you don't have to resubmit that every year, but you do have to fill out the survey every
year. Okay. Okay, we have another question. We included veteran status as a protected class. I know it goes beyond what is required, but can we keep it in our policy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, there might be, like if you have a specific type of something that is just for veterans, that may be required in your particular area. So, by a separate statute, it's not generally required. So, yes, yes, you can definitely include that. Everybody can include it in their protected classes.
Okay. All right. I don't have any more questions at this time, but Leslie, would you share with folks your email address in case they would like to email you directly with questions?
Yes, it's L. McBride, and that's just LMCBRIDE @kyhousing.org. And I'll be glad to answer any questions at any time.
We greatly appreciate you being here with us today, Leslie, and for guiding us through the Title VI process. And again, folks, if you do have any specific questions, be sure to send them to Leslie. If you don't or have trouble getting in touch with her, don't remember email, just let me know, and you can send it to me or anybody here in our department if you work with a specific program rep, and we'll forward it to Leslie.
Thank you, and I hope this wasn't too awful.
Thank you. We apologize again for the delay and the technical issues. Thank you very much, Leslie. The next thing on our agenda is going to be the 2014 K-Count update, and Polly Lloyd is going to be moving up to the microphone here in just a second to give us an update on that step process, and also she's going to be talking with us about HMIS updates.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Just really quick, the K-Count. I'm sure that all of you all have received the e-gram detailing the training dates, times, and locations for the 2014 K-Count training. I have one correction, and I think Lynn even sent an email out that we missed after 18 people probably looked at it, and we all missed it. Bowling Green is actually Region 2, and Hopkinsville is actually Region 1. They got switched, and we didn't notice it. So I'll be in Bowling Green on December 11th and Hopkinsville on December the 10th. If you all need directions or need location directions, just let me know. But that's about it for K-Count. Those are all happening in December. I have one makeup session in January. If anybody is unable to attend the options in December, you're more than welcome to come up here to KHC and attend the makeup training. We are going to record videos like we did last year on the different surveys and how to administer them. I'm actually recording those this week, so they will be up on, Lynn's got it pulled up right now. They'll be up on that website probably about the second week of December. So if you have any volunteers that can't come to the training, they're more than welcome to watch the videos once they're put online. They'll also, this year, instead of doing individual sheets of paper, we did one big manual. You all will receive a copy of that when you come to training, but we're also going to have that online for any volunteers or anybody who's unable to make it. So that's about it for my K-Count.
One of the folks asked about the dates again for the training. Hold on just a second, and Polly may have those where she can share those with you again.
Okay, so December the 10th is going to be in Hopkinsville for Region 1. It's going to start at 1 p.m. and that's Central Standard Time, and it's going to be at the Pennyroyal, their main building right there on Fort Campbell Boulevard. And the very next day, we're going to be in Bowling Green. That starts at 9 o'clock in the morning, Central Standard Time, at the Economic Justice Institute on Old Louisville Road. And then the next one after that is going to be Region 3 is going to be December the 17th and January the 14th. Michael has been sending out reminders for Region 3. If you haven't been getting Michael's flyers or reminders, let me know, and I can send you information about Region 3. Region 4 is going to be December the 5th. It's going to be at City Hall. We think it's the conference room on the 5th floor. You'll just have to park behind the building. That's going to start at 9:30 in the morning and go through lunch. We're still working on lunch details, but that one's going to go through lunch. Region 5, we apologize for the leaf blower if you can hear it. Region 5 is December the 18th, and that's going to start at 10 o'clock in the morning, and that's, of course, at Shiloh's Restaurant, and we will eat there. That one will go through lunch, and we'll eat at the restaurant down in London. Region 6 is going to be December the 19th, and it starts at 9:30 Eastern Central Time, and that's going to be here at KHC, and, of course, that makeup day is January 7th. If you missed any of those dates, just let me know. We'll post them up on, I'll have Nicole post them up on the K-Count webpage, too, just in case you all missed those.
A couple of other questions that came across while you were talking about the dates. Should everyone involved be at the CoC training, or is one person from an agency sufficient?
If at any time you have staff or volunteers that will administer a survey, KHC highly recommends that those individuals come to the training. There's a certain way we like to administer. There's surveys. There's certain ways that you have to ask the questions. If you feel that you can send one person from your agency and they can either kind of train the trainer situation, if you feel that's sufficient, that's completely up to you. KHC doesn't necessarily recommend that. It's one of the reasons why we do the videos online, so that the training that everybody receives is consistent. Since it goes across the state, it needs to be as consistent as possible.
Okay.
Well, I think that addressed there was also a second question. Just want to know whether the trainings for the CoC were mandatory. Oh, now we have a siren. Whether the trainings for the CoC are mandatory. Obviously, it's not something that is put in agency's grant agreements, but as Polly said, you know, it's vital to know how to get your surveys counted and your information counted, because incomplete surveys or ones that are completed incorrectly, we generally are going to have to toss. So if there's issues with folks not being able to be there, definitely the videos and things like that are going to have to be your tool, but it's going to ensure for much better data to have somebody at the training, especially, or at a minimum, that train the trainer situation.
I will also add that in the past, we have actually counted the attendance at the CoC trainings on various applications. I think at one time, I'm not sure if it was counted last year on ESG, but at one time it was counted on the ESG applications, and it also has been used as a scoring criteria on the CoC application for renewals as well as new projects. So that is sometimes I can't say for sure whether it will be next year or not, but that is something that you all need to take into consideration, just like it is to attend these CoC webinars or any other regional meeting. It's basically a situation where HUD expects anybody who's receiving money from them to be a participant in these activities. Okay, so I think that's all of the questions that we have on the CoC right now.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Holly's going to talk now about HMIS.
I'm going to switch gears because there's actually a lot to talk about HMIS. You all have heard for a year now about this open system, and we're going to open up the system for coordinated assessment. We've sent out emails and asked everybody to comment on the demo site that had the new visibility, and everybody was going to share. A couple important things as we come to the end of this project. A lot of stuff is going to happen in the next probably 6 weeks, and it's going to happen really fast. So I'm going to kind of give you a tentative deadline for the next 6 weeks, because some of this will directly affect your access to the system as of January 2nd. We have to redo our policies and procedures for HMIS. This may involve recreating a participation agreement and user confidentiality agreements. Those will have to all be re-signed, acknowledgement forms, understandings, and sent back to us. Our goal is to get those to you by December the 9th, or sometime in that week. We'll send out a big email or e-gram, send you the link. What you have to realize is we have to have those back to KHC by December the 23rd. Because the holidays are in those 2 weeks, it actually gives KHC employees just 4 days to enter all that information into the system. If you do not return the acknowledgement forms, the new participation agreements, the new user agreements, by December the 23rd, we can't grant you access to the system as of January 2nd. We won't be able to grant you access until we get those back. It has to deal with the new data sharing policies and keeping other information that is shared from another agency just as confidential as you keep your own. It also has to do with the ability of agencies who receive federal funding for substance abuse treatment, having opt-out standards. There's a lot of changes within those policies and procedures, and we're going to review those next week here within KHC. but you will definitely need to read through those the week of December the 9th. Ask any questions you have, get any clarification. If you feel like you need to fill out an data sharing exit agreement, you need to fill that out and return all that stuff to us by December the 23rd. They're going to roll out the new system on January 2nd. I talked to our vendor today, and that is still our goal. That is our target. As of January 2nd, our ROI security model with a lockdown visibility will no longer exist. So when you log onto the system, you're going to start seeing an awful lot of stuff. So we're actually kind of excited. It's been a project that's been in the works for a year. I know Latice and I have spent hours and days and nights and weekends working on this, so we're kind of excited that it's coming to an end. But those 2 weeks in December, getting those policies and procedures out to you all, and you all returning all those forms, you'll need to return the originals to KHC. So that will need to be done by that 23rd. Do I have any questions about that?
Not yet. You probably will, but give them a second.
Yeah, it'll be lots of changes, but like I said, we're really excited. It's just really important that you all are aware that those forms have to be back to us, and you all are aware of those new policies and procedures and how confidentiality and having a client deny data sharing, how you need to handle those circumstances. And that's all written down in a policy and procedures, and you know, we've been talking about it for a year and going over it in training. So
one question has come in, will we need new training?
No. If you attended the training that Myron did in June and July, and you're doing the Interdata as workflows, you will not need any new training at all. Now, for some odd reason, you're not doing Interdata as part of your workflow, then you'll probably need to call us, because not really, because we instituted that back in July. So that'd be kind of interesting. But no, there's no mandatory training. We'll probably do a very quick, maybe a very quick video, but it will be maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Like I said, we've actually been training this for the last 7 months. What Bowman, our vendor, is going to do is go back and work on some of our historical data for people who are still active in your program, and work on their records. So that's kind of the script that's going to be running.
Another question has come in. When will we receive those HMIS forms for the people that may be out of the office over the holidays, Christmas holidays?
Our goal is to get them up and available to you all on December the 9th. Because we realized there was a lot of vacation, we wanted to give you all a full 2 weeks before Christmas.
I think that's all the questions we have at this time.
One other just real quick thing, because I feel like you all haven't received enough emails from me about it. Once again, there's a workflow change with the new CoC APR requirements. If you have any questions about that, I've done a lot of GoToMeetings in the last couple of weeks. That seems the best way to make corrections and teach the new workflows. If you still have questions, please let me know. We're not going to do any special training for that either. But just as a reminder, if you've got an APR that's due, you might want to take a look at question 23, because if there's any information, our program reps here at KHC can't accept it. So, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Polly. And for those, I'm sure most of you that work directly with Polly probably have her number memorized, her and Latice memorized and on speed dial. But if you have any questions concerning those things, please contact Polly or Latice for follow-up and to get those situations resolved. That is basically what we have here for today's webinar. I'm not sure if anybody else has any questions or concerns. If you do, go ahead and type them in. Just a few reminders that we have, and that is, as you possibly have changes at your agency among staff, please let us know. We will try to let you know as we have changes in staff. So, and I know that sometimes we do have people that we have new program reps. So, but please let us know so that we can make sure that we have the distribution list up to date, so that everybody gets the information that is needed and is critical for attending webinars and emails and all kinds of things that have pertinent or critical data information included. The next thing was to talk about the subscribe to the HUD CPD notices. Rosemary has already touched on that. Again, if you go to the HUD HRE site, and you can click onto the listserv link, and that will take you to, if you look over here on the far right, you'll see listservs. That will take you directly to the 1CPD mail list site where you can sign up for not only the CoC program, but a whole multitude of programs that they send you emails on. The other thing that I was going to say is to make sure that you're also signed up for the KHC egrams. And if you go to our website at khckyhousing.org, and then if you look under the links at the left-hand side, if you look under Specialized Housing Resources and go to our main web page, there is the link up there to subscribe. And I know a lot of people, if you have all of a sudden stopped getting e-grants and you had got them in the past, sometimes if they bounce back to us as undeliverable, your mailbox may be full, something may be going on. If they bounce back as undeliverable a couple of times, it actually automatically removes you. So if you've been getting e-grams and then all of a sudden they stop, that may be where you need to re-sign up or resubscribe for that service. And that basically is all I have for today's webinar. We appreciate everybody's patience with us today. I know that some people were still having a little bit of technical difficulty with the sound. We apologize. I'm not real sure what has happened. At one time you all could not hear anything at all, and then when I redialed I could hear some of you all, and I think some of you all could hear me, but not everybody, and then it went dead again. So after several attempts, we finally got this pulled off. We will reschedule for Karen Quinn to do her presentation at a different time where we have a little bit more time for her to do that. And we appreciate everybody's time today. We will be trying to record and save this onto our website. When we get that done, we will send a link out to everybody. And I don't think I have any more questions that have come in. So with that, we would like to thank everybody for joining us and hope you all have a very happy Thanksgiving. Goodbye.